Software architecture is all about balance, and there's no coincidence that the two most stereotyped architectural answers are "that depends" and "that's an implementation detail." These stereotypes come from a set of behaviours that software architects need to be aware of, but you can't get by with just those two answers. Today I'm going to talk through a set of 6 opposing soft skills you'll need to use to communicate trade-offs and help your stakeholders make the best decisions for your application. If you've been a software developer for a few years, you've started to notice a few patterns. One thing that's very fortunate about software development is that it's so varied. There are a lot of different frameworks, methodologies, team sizes, and compositions, so you will have maybe learned a few things that the people around you haven't. The person that stayed in one role for 10 years will know some things in a level of detail that others will never be able to emulate. The person who's changed jobs every 2 years will have a breadth of knowledge that's hard to come by otherwise. The person that's deep dived into a framework will know something. A person that solved a general problem from scratch will know something about what maintaining a system like that takes. Someone who has watched a greenfield project go brown will have seen some patterns with how the rot begins and spreads. A good way to share this knowledge is by contextualizing it. When I was at such a place, working on such a problem, I tried this and I saw those results. I have the following theory about why that happened. Unknowns make projects hard to plan. They make them hard to estimate. If there are unknowns, it makes designs and architectural choices hard. Sometimes these unknowns are quantities that are available and you just need to ask for them. But other times you might need to do some research or investigation. Some unknowns might look like, we haven't implemented something that looks like that in our framework, and I don't know what problems someone would have to solve to do that. How many end users are we expecting? The other team hasn't made it clear what the requirements are for this API. Do you want us to start without them and rework it if it's wrong, or try to confirm with them prior? Do we have any test data to validate this? Some more difficult unknowns are the ones that you've learned from time implementing things. This feature seems complicated. I don't know how many times we'll have to test it before we get it right. Sometimes it's not worth arguing a point. A manager might favour a particular solution out of 2 options where your gut feeling is that they've made the wrong call. It's okay to defer to them and to collect more data. Sometimes you just need to do that and work on your relationships instead of being right. Once you have more data, it might be clearer which choice should have been made, and also you might change your mind. Sometimes a software developer is very invested or enthusiastic about a particular feature, method, or approach which doesn't quite match your suggested implementation plan. I think this is a rare piece of motivational magic whereby you can direct some positive energy into a project. You'll learn what the outcome is, and if you treated the experience like an experiment, then you can capture and use that data for later. There are some things that will never work. If you can find good, compelling reasons why those things are the case, then you can set out your convincing case, clearly articulating the pitfalls, outcomes, and causes of problems you know the stakeholders are willing to avoid, and steer them away from an anti-pattern. Saving your organisation from a costly dead end will pay for your salary that day. Some decisions are hard to make without enough technical detail. It can be tempting when you're dealing with non-technical stakeholders day to day to allow yourself to cover up the complexity of yours and your team's work. Some of that complexity is incidental, but a fair bit of that complexity can be caused by agreeing to incompatible sets of requirements. One of your roles as a software architect is to inform decision makers about trade-offs when implementing software. Another is to advocate for your team. Sometimes simpler solutions aren't possible for business reasons, but when they are, you should be doing your best to advocate for those. And that's not just for the business, it's for you and for your team. Once a solution is chosen, you're going to have to explain it to your people in enough detail that they'll be able to implement it. And if it's complicated or a complex solution with a lot of technical fish hooks, friction, maintenance overhead, or some other trade-off where the dev team loses, well, that's going to cost everyone in time and money. With that in mind, there are several situations where there might be a lot of technical complexity, and that's just part of best practices, where your team needs to know about something, but the other non-technical stakeholders don't. It's fine to gloss over it. Some specific stakeholders with close relationships to the team might be able to tolerate that detail and even be able to give feedback on it. But a lot of the time, you're going to have different levels of detail that you share with different stakeholders with different levels of tolerance to that implementation detail. And that's fine. Developers are used to dealing with data centers down to bits, and lots of levels of detail are fine for them. But for your product evangelist, they might only care what you're doing is good, so a top layer of detail might be enough. And if this was useful to you, please like, comment, or subscribe to my feed.